After gathering everyone, Hikari begins explaining a phenomenon called ennui, which supposedly affects relationships after 3 months. However, since they've been together for quite some time, this phase should have already passed. But then, Hikari drops an interesting detail. She became Hentaro's girlfriend much later than the others. Out of nowhere, Hikari comes up with a brilliant idea to shake up the group's routine. Without wasting time, she asks Kusuri to bring her latest experiment, a drug called Ui Destruction. Subtle name, right? The problem is that when Kusuri drops the drug into a glass of juice, everything goes wrong. Very wrong. The juice literally explodes in her hands, causing absolute chaos. The explosion is so loud that Hentaro rushes over to see what's happening. After all, the second season has already begun, and now a strange purple mist is spreading across the area. When the dust settles, surprise, all the girls have swapped bodies. That's right, panic quickly spreads. Well, almost everyone panics. Nano, as always composed, simply suggests that the best thing to do is adapt. Meanwhile, Hentaro desperately tries to figure out who is who, since everything has turned into a real puzzle. Then there's Hikari, now in Nano's body, realizing that this is the perfect chance to do whatever she wants without anyone suspecting her. Pretending she's still adjusting to the new body, she starts staggering around and suddenly throws herself into Hentaro's arms, rubbing her face against him and sniffing him shamelessly. But Hentaro catches on immediately. Only Hikari would pull something like that. When he reveals that he already knows who she is, Hikari is frustrated, unable to understand how he figured it out so quickly. Well, let's be honest, it wasn't that hard. Meanwhile, Kusuri, now in Hikari's body, starts acting like a child literally. She even exposes herself right away because, of course, she keeps ending her sentences with her own name. And, as if that weren't enough, she suddenly announces that she needs to go to the bathroom, but since she's wearing a diaper, she can just go right there. Hikari, in Nano's body, freaks out and rushes to take her to the bathroom because, honestly, no one deserves to witness that happening to their own body. While all this is going on, Hentaro observes Kusuri's body and tries to guess who's inside. After a bit of conversation, he discovers it's Harari. She's absolutely thrilled to be in a young body again, and immediately starts causing trouble. Now, in Harari's body is Karan, which is obvious since she acts exactly like a tsundere and is very pleased with, let's just say, certain physical attributes she now possesses. Shizuka, on the other hand, ends up in Karani's body, and her calm personality completely contrasts with the explosive energy from before. Finally, Nano is now in Shizuka's body. As soon as she realizes this, she hands the girl a phone so she can communicate. With everyone properly identified, the big question arises: how on earth are they going to get back to their original body? Desperate to return to their correct bodies, Shizuka and Kusuri try to solve the problem in the most creative way possible, by smashing their heads together. The result? No change whatsoever, just 2 massive lumps growing on their foreheads. That's when Harari comes up with a fairy tale-worthy solution. Only a kiss from a prince can restore everything to normal. But Nana, being the sharp one, immediately realizes that this is just a flimsy excuse to steal a kiss from Hentaro. Instead of denying it, Harari simply confirms her plan, pulling Hentaro onto her lap. The strangest part? Even in a small body, she somehow radiates a maternal aura that Hentaro wasn't expecting. He feels completely bewildered, unsure why he's experiencing a mix of comfort and awkwardness at the same time. Before he can think too much about it, Harari says, "You're a good boy, and for that, I'll reward you." Then, she kisses him. In that instant, her soul simply floats out of the body and starts drifting through the air. Nano is the first to realize what this means. All the girls need to kiss Hentaro for their souls to return to their rightful bodies. Wasting no time, Nano steps forward and asks him to lower his head. But upon seeing his face turning red, she sighs. "Hentaro, this is no time to be shy. We have a serious problem here." Saying that, she lifts his chin and kisses him. Done. Her soul also leaves the wrong body and returns to its proper place. Next up is Kusuri. But instead of just giving a quick kiss and solving the problem immediately, she decides to take advantage of the situation. Grabbing Hentaro from behind, she hugs him tightly, pressing him against her. The problem? In that moment, something awakens inside her, a certain curiosity involving sharp objects she usually hides inside her blouse. Hentaro, now completely panicked, shuts it down instantly. "Kusuri, stop this, and just kiss me already, before you discover something you shouldn't." And just like that, another soul returns to its place. Hentaro starts sweating. This situation is getting more intense than he expected, but he takes a deep breath and pushes through until everything is resolved. Now it's Shizuka's turn. She hesitates in front of him and asks to go next. Trying to keep his composure, Hentaro gently holds her shoulders for the kiss. Shizuka blushes deeply, but eventually gathers the courage to press her lips against his. Then comes Karani. As always, she tries to act tough and tells him to just get it over with. But Hentaro sees right through her tsundere act and comments, "You know, you look really cute when you try try to act like this. Kurain turns even redder but doesn't back down. She gives him the kiss, and just like that, another soul is back in place. Finally, all the girls return to their original bodies. A wave of relief washes over them as they celebrate, happy to be back to normal. And Hentaro? Well, he's completely exhausted and out of breath. After all, kissing all of them one after another had certain side effects on a particular part of his body. Curious, as always, Hikari approaches and asks, "So, how was it seeing all of us in different bodies?" Hentaro gives a sheepish smile and replies, "It was exciting." Hearing that, Hikari looks satisfied. Even though this body swap was a complete accident, at least Hentaro gained a special memory to look back on. I quote. Hentaro, without hesitation, makes it clear. He prefers the girls just the way they've always been. Upon hearing this, all of them feel a little flustered. But Harari, being Harari, sees an opportunity and asks to kiss him again now that she's in her real body. And, as expected, the other girls don't want to be left out and jump on the idea. What happens next? Well, that's another story. An unexpected encounter. Later, Hentaro decides to go to the cafeteria to grab a snack. Everything is peaceful until bam, he bumps into someone. It's a girl, and for a brief moment, the two of them reach for the same snack at the exact same time. As Hentaro tries to apologize, he feels a shock run through his body. Not just any shock, but that same one from before, the soulmate's shock. He immediately understands what's happening, but as he takes a closer look at the girl's uniform, he notices something that confuses him. She's from middle school. Meanwhile, the girl, visibly uncomfortable with his intense stare, blurts out, "Got a problem? There's no rule saying I can't come to the high school cafeteria, you know?" Feeling awkward, Hentaro quickly shakes his head and tells her she's free to stay. But then, as the girl goes to pay for her snack, she realizes she left her wallet at home. With no other choice, she sighs, gives up on buying anything, and sits on a bench outside, trying to ignore the loud growls of her stomach. A little later, Hentaro approaches and offers her half of his snack, but noticing that he seems to be following her, the girl frowns. "You're creeping me out." Trying to seem less suspicious, Hentaro improvises. Well, I was planning to eat another one later, but I don't think I can finish it alone, so I figured I'd share." Even so, the girl hesitates. But the moment her stomach growls again, she sighs, defeated by hunger, and accepts the food. And then, something curious happens. As she eats, for the first time, she smiles. The change is so drastic that Hentaro almost doesn't recognize her. Up until now, she had been frowning the entire time. "I tend to be pretty high-strung," she explains. "When I'm hungry, I get even more irritated. And if I crave something specific and can't have it, then it's game over." Saying this, she apologizes for being rude earlier. Then, she starts talking more about herself. She describes herself as a complete food fanatic, so obsessed that she sometimes associates random objects with equally random dishes. Because of this, she has to cover her eyes with her hoodie and wear headphones to avoid making those weird connections all the time. "So that's why you're always wearing a hoodie and headphones?" Hentaro asks. The girl nods. "I only take them off when I'm eating. If I'm going to enjoy a real meal, I have to use all my senses. It's the least I can do, right?" After finishing her food, she stands up, thanks Hentaro for the snack, and gets ready to leave. But before she goes, he calls out, "Wait, at least tell me your name." Before she can answer, her stomach growls again. Instantly, her expression returns to the same scowl as before. "Are you hitting on me?" Hentaro nearly chokes on air at the accusation, but observing the situation, he realizes she's already hungry again. The snack she just ate has been completely digested. Meanwhile, the girl feels her heart racing and wonders what the hell this strange sensation is. The next day, she returns to the cafeteria, determined. Her goal, a breaded hamburger sandwich. After seeing everyone talk about it on television, she can't think about anything else. "Today, I'm eating that no matter what." Asterisk. A surprise breakfast. Full of anticipation, Kuromi arrives at the cafeteria, ready to finally taste the much-talked-about breaded hamburger sandwich, but to her complete frustration. Sorry, sweetheart. It's sold out," the cashier says with an apologetic smile. That snack sold like crazy. Everyone wanted to try it after it was featured on that television show. Kuromi freezes on the spot. Asterisk. Television show. So that's it. Asterisk. The only reason this snack became a craze was because of that stupid program. And now, thanks to that, she was standing there empty-handed, her stomach growling once again. Before she can vent her frustration, Hentaro suddenly appears and suggests, "How about trying the pork loin sandwich? It's pretty similar." Kuromi looks at him as if he just uttered the greatest blasphemy in the world. Similar? One is a breaded hamburger and the other is pork loin. They have nothing in common. Without a second thought, she turns around and decides to head to the nearest convenience store. If the school didn't have the snack, she'd find it somewhere else. But before she can leave, Hentaro remembers an important detail. Middle school students aren't allowed to leave school during class hours. Wait, if you want, I can go in your place. Before he can even finish the sentence, pah! Kuromi slaps him across the face. You're so annoying. And without looking back, she stomps off toward the store. The problem? When she gets there, she finds out the sandwich is sold out there too. This has to be a joke. Her stomach growls loudly. Her patience reaches its limit. But before she explodes in rage, she takes a deep breath. Looking around, she notices that everyone is keeping a certain distance from her. Do I always push people away like this? A surprise breakfast. The next day, on her way to school, Hentaro approaches her again. Before she can tell him to get lost, he takes her to the culinary classroom. On the table, right in front of her, sits the long-awaited breaded hamburger sandwich. Kuromi's eyes light up. How did you get this? Hentaro smiles. Simple. I got permission and made it myself. Only then does she notice his hands covered in bandages. He burned and cut himself in the process. He went through all that just to make a snack for me? Her stomach growls again, but this time, it's not just hunger, it's confusion. Why are you being so nice to me? After everything I did to you, Hentaro shrugs. You have good qualities, you know? I like how you respect every meal. Eating with someone who appreciates food like that makes me feel comfortable. Kuromi feels a strange warmth in her chest. Funny, I feel like food tastes better when I eat with you too. Without thinking much, she blurts out, let's keep eating together, like as if we were dating. Saying that, she finally reveals her name, Haraga Kuromi *. And, as expected, Hentaro takes Kuromi to meet his other girlfriends. So, what do you all think? Can I add another one to the collection? Kuromi immediately shuts down. Don't get any ideas. I'm not interested in getting close to anyone besides Hentaro. The other girls exchange looks. Yeah, we've heard that one before. To break the ice, Hentaro mentions an upcoming food festival. The event features an eating competition, and the prize is cash and a special dessert made by a 3-star pastry chef. Kuromi crosses her arms. Easy. I can win that by myself. The problem? To participate, she needs a guardian's permission. Harari puts a hand on her chin, thinking, I'll let you pretend to be my daughter, but on one condition. You have to call me Mommy *. A vein pops on Kuromi's forehead. Never! And so, everything is set for an epic next episode, where this crazy bunch will take on a food competition. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and comment * 100 girlfriends * so we can bring part 2. See you in the next video. Peace out.
As soon as they arrive at the King Kong Festival and more, Hentaro, Hentari, and the rest of the group find themselves in the middle of an excited crowd. The atmosphere is electrifying. On stage, the host begins explaining how everything will work. Teams of up to 10 people will compete in 5 rounds, and whoever accumulates the most points by the end will take home the trophy. But as she gives the details, something curious happens. On the arena's giant screen, images of herself in rather suggestive poses begin to appear. Karain, outraged, wastes no time in confronting her. Hey, do you really think that's the right outfit to host an event like this? The host, however, flashes a mischievous smile and retorts, fan service, my dear. People have way more fun when there's something interesting to look at instead of just boring text on the screen. Meanwhile, Hentaro notices something. Beside him, Kurumi remains silent, observing everything without much expression. He thinks this event might be a great opportunity for her to interact more with her family. And soon, the first round begins. A competition to see who can eat the most rice. There are some side dishes on the table, but they don't count for points. Only the rice matters. Determined to compete together, Hentaro and Kurumi take their seats. But right away, a problem arises. Kurumi is only interested in the side dishes. Thinking quickly, Hentaro remembers that only the white grains count and tries to bring her focus back. But then, he gets a better idea. He hands Kurumi some pieces of meat, thinking, if she eats this, her appetite will increase, and she'll end up eating more rice too. His plan works so well that the other competitors start imitating it, trying out the side dishes. But then comes their mistake. They get so caught up in the extra food that they quickly become too full to continue. Meanwhile, Hentaro and his team keep going strong on the rice. The girls start to worry about him. You don't have to push yourself this hard. But Hentaro smiles and replies, how could I get tired? Every bowl tastes special because it was served by you. And I love that feeling. The opponents, watching the scene, start to sweat nervously. Hentaro and Kurumi are eating so voraciously that they seem like true devouring beasts. My god, who are these two? Someone murmurs in fear. They're the gluttony monsters. And then, time's up. The host gives the command. Spoons down. The results are in. Hentaro's team finishes in 3rd place. And first, well, it belongs to a guy so huge he looks like a walking mountain. Nana recognizes him immediately. That's Chanko. He's won a ton of eating contests. Hentaro looks at the guy and laughs. I'm pretty sure he escaped from an episode of One Piece. Before they can rest, the host returns to the stage with a playful look. And now, let's move on to the next round. The food you'll have to face is a classic of eating competitions. What could be coming next? Hentaro is already starting to feel intrigued. What dish could it be this time? The host holds the suspense for a few seconds before finally revealing. The next competition is who can drink the most bubble tea. At that moment, a chill runs down Hentaro's spine. He's heard of this drink. The problem isn't the tea itself, but the tapioca pearls that fill up your stomach in the blink of an eye. Breaking into a cold sweat, he looks at the group and asks, "Alright, who's up for this round?" But before anyone can answer, he feels his stomach churn. The impact of the mountain of rice he devoured in the previous round is starting to take its toll. He's almost ready to throw up when Hahari notices his ghostly pale face and suggests, "Hentaro, why don't you sit this one out? You and Kurumi did great in the first round, no need to push yourself." Kurumi, however, remembers her promise to participate in every round. Thanks to her incredibly fast metabolism, all that rice she ate is already processed, and she's ready for more. Hentaro grows concerned. "Kurumi, listen, you can eat a lot, but you're not a machine. Let the other girls help or you'll pass out in the middle of the event." But Kurumi stands her ground. "The others don't seem to be able to eat as much as I can." That's when Shizuka steps in. "Oh yeah? Then let me prove that I can be a bubble tea devouring monster too." And so, the competition begins. As expected, Chanko takes the lead, downing entire cups as if they were plain water. Meanwhile, the other competitors start to realize a problem. Chewing the tapioca pearls is exhausting. The contest is no longer about who drinks the fastest, but who can keep chewing the longest without locking their jaw. Hentaro watches Shizuka and notices something interesting. While everyone else is massaging their aching jaws, she keeps chewing effortlessly, as if it doesn't affect her at all. Then he figures it out. "Ah, I get it now. Since her mouth is small, each bite is also smaller. That means her jaw is constantly working, so she has natural endurance for this kind of thing." With this unexpected advantage, their team scores an impressive result in this round. But there's no time to rest. The next competition is all about eating as much sushi as possible. Now, it's Nami and Kurumi's turn to step up. The match begins, and everything is going well, until Hentaro notices a problem. "Kurumi, stop savoring the food and eat faster." She glares at him, offended. But it's sushi. Eating this without savoring it is practically a crime. As she struggles between gastronomic pleasure and the need for speed, the host notices another competitor starting to stand out, Nana. The most shocking part? She isn't even chewing the sushi. Karain, confused, asks what's going on, and Nana explains, "In this kind of competition, wasting time chewing is pure inefficiency." Meanwhile, the Guerrilla Syndicate team begins to slow down. They simply can't keep up with the insane speed of the other teams. In the final seconds of the match, the ultimate showdown comes down to Nana and Chanko. Both bring one last piece of sushi to their mouths at the same time. It's a battle to see who can swallow first before the clock runs out, but at the last moment, Nana hesitates. The timer hits 0, and Chanko is declared the winner. Hentaro is baffled. "Nana, what happened?" She turns to him, clutching her stomach, and replies in a shaky voice, "If I had taken one more bite, I would have thrown up everything." And just like that, another round comes to an end. But the competition is far from over. The competition was heating up, and the Guerrilla Syndicate was starting to catch up to Kurumi's group. Seeing the situation turn critical, Nana made a drastic decision. She climbed to the highest point she could find. The plan? Activate her survival instincts. If her mind believed that falling from there meant certain death, then her body would react instinctively, associating eating the sushi as the only way to escape this imminent tragedy. And it worked. Even on the verge of throwing up, Nana managed to swallow the last piece. But now there was a problem. She couldn't get down. Without a second thought, Hentaro rushed to help, catching her in his arms and carrying her down like a true hero. Third round, spicy tofu soup. With adrenaline still pumping, the competition moved on to the third round. This time, the challenge was to devour an insanely spicy tofu soup. Without hesitation, they chose Karain for the job. After all, she had a high tolerance for spicy foods, making her the perfect pick. And sure enough, Karain drank the soup as if it were fresh water, while the other competitors sweated, choked, and even shed tears. Hentaro's group secured first place in this round. Fourth round, the cake challenge. The fourth round brought a new obstacle: cake. Lots and lots of cake. As soon as the competition began, Chanko shot ahead, but the Guerrilla Syndicate quickly closed in on him. Meanwhile, Hikari started complaining about the overwhelming sweetness and the risk of gaining weight. Hahari, hearing this, realized she had a point and started worrying too. This nearly cost the team the round, as the Guerrilla Syndicate noticed their hesitation and picked up the pace. But before everything could go downhill, Karain lost her patience. "You're worried about weight in the middle of a competition. Did you forget that fat also goes to the boobs?" It was like flipping a switch. Mother and daughter exchanged a knowing glance, and suddenly, they resumed devouring the cakes with a completely different motivation. The result? Second place in this round. Final round, ramen hell. Before the final round, Hentaro had a brilliant idea, massaging the girls' stomachs to help them avoid getting sick. With everyone a bit more prepared, the host announced the final challenge: eat as much ramen as possible without dying in the process. And to make things even more exciting, she revealed a twist. The points for this round would be doubled. That meant they still had a real chance at victory. But now there was a problem. Everyone was already at their limit. The only one still with enough energy to compete was Kurumi. So she went in alone. As soon as the competition began, only 3 competitors remained standing: Kurumi, Chanko, and the leader of the Guerrilla Syndicate. The syndicate was practically defeated. However, their leader refused to give up and gave an emotional speech about proving to the world what the Guerrilla Syndicate was capable of. The effect was immediate. Even though they were on the brink of collapse, her teammates rose to fight alongside her and ended up in the hospital minutes later. Now only Kurumi and Chanko remained. The big Chanko scam. As everyone watched the epic showdown between the two, someone noticed something strange about Chanko. Suddenly, the truth was exposed. He had been cheating the entire time. Underneath his costume, a hidden man was carrying a tank with a hose connected to Chanko. Every time Chanko put food in his mouth, he spat it through the hose, dumping everything into the tank. This created the illusion that he was devouring the dishes effortlessly. Even so, the battle against Kurumi continued. They had already surpassed 20 bowls of ramen when Kurumi started to hesitate. Her stomach was at its absolute limit. Seeing this, Chanko sneered, "You should have thought twice before entering every single round. Now there's no more room in your stomach." Huh? Kurumi felt the weight of his words. He was right. She should have paced herself. Hentaro and the other girls saw that she was about to give up. Then, without hesitation, they sat down beside her and started eating too. The rules allowed them to help, and nobody hesitated before jumping in. Kurumi was completely speechless. She never thought she deserved the support, especially after everything she had said. But before she could start blaming herself, Karain made it clear, "Stop overthinking. We're here because we want to be here." And with that, the real battle began. Hentaro looked at Kurumi and said firmly, "From the very beginning, you've always been fighting alongside us. What matters are your actions, not your words." And that was exactly what she needed to hear. Kurumi felt a surge of motivation and went back to devouring the ramen as if her life depended on it. Meanwhile, Chanko realized he had a serious problem. The tank was full. There was no more space to hide the food. With no other option, he finally had to start eating for real. The difference? His stomach was still empty because, up until now, he had only been pretending to compete. That meant he still had the energy to keep going. The round went on to the absolute limit. Every competitor collapsed to the ground, completely defeated. A technical tie. But the battle wasn't over yet. Kurumi and Chanko dragged themselves back to their bowls, determined to keep the fight going. Hentaro saw that Kurumi was at her limit and made a quick decision. "Kurumi, give me the rest of your ramen. In exchange, I promise I'll let you taste whatever you want later." She hesitated for a second, but in the end, gave in. As Kurumi placed the ramen directly into his mouth, Hentaro kept eating, until Chanko finally couldn't take the pressure and threw up everything. Victory for Hentaro's team. He could hardly believe they had won. He was about to pass out from eating so much, but one thing was certain. He could never throw up something his girlfriend had fed him with her own hands. And so, Team Hentaro emerged as the champions, taking home that fancy ice cream as their prize. Everyone celebrated, but the night wasn't over yet. Later, Kurumi asked to talk to Hentaro in private. She wanted to thank him for inviting her to the event. Because of it, she had gotten much closer to the other girls. And that's when she remembered, "You said I could taste whatever I wanted after the competition, right?" Before he could respond, Kurumi leaned in and planted a deep kiss on him. From that day on, every time she saw the word broth anywhere, she felt an uncontrollable urge to kiss Hentaro again. Man, what a season. This was straight up cinema. I'm loving this so much, and there are still 10 episodes left. You guys have no idea how happy I am, so you already know. Drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications because part 3 is coming. See you in the next video. Peace.